Matt.
Hey, y'all, I'm Luke.
And we're the founders of the People's Champions International. We do thank you for viewing and subscribing to our podcast and YouTube channel at People's Champions International. We appreciate your insights and requests, which you can send via comments directly to us, or you can email us at peopleschampionsinternational@gmail.com. So welcome to round 13, where we're elevating what people can do while discussing the impact of artificial intelligence on our lives. And so today we're very excited. We have a special guest, Danielle Lord, PhD, and we're going to have a follow-up discussion on our round from a month ago regarding AI bots replacing education roles, which is unfounded, but now occurring. And so with that, I just want to take a moment to introduce Dr. Lord. So, Dr. Lord, prior to starting her organizational development, consulting, and coaching practice, Danielle developed and led leadership development efforts in multiple organizations. This work includes the Port of Seattle as the Chief Learning Officer for the state of Washington and for Providence Health and Services, a 5-state, 75,000 employee health system. In addition, she has been a faculty member at Brandman University since 2008, teaching over 17 different graduate level courses. She has also consulted for multiple organizations and developed over 48 courses for organizations of all sizes. Danielle earned her PhD in leadership theory in 2007 from Capella University, where she studied nursing dissatisfaction. In her spare time, Danielle enjoys antiquing, gardening, and wine. She lives in Auburn with her husband, Stephen, and their cat called Kitten, and has 2 adult children. And so, Danielle, welcome today. We're extremely grateful and excited to have you.
Yes, as am I. It's interesting times and a topic that needs much more discussion.
Yes, absolutely. And so we just have a few questions and want to have that open dialogue today. And I believe Luke's going to start us off with and get us going here.
Yeah, Dr. Lord, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your feedback regarding one of our previous rounds. And so just to jump right in on that topic, when you viewed round 9, one of our previous rounds of the podcast, we discussed in that round some really important roles in education that were being replaced by AI bots. These AI bots were given actual names and actual faces, and again, were really important positions within the educational system. So what were your initial thoughts and reaction when you saw that?
Horrified. It's probably the first response or emotion that I experienced with that. And I think the reason for that is because we are talking about hundreds of thousands, probably millions of children, kids, young adults who do not have fully functioning brains. Our brains do not fully develop until we're about 23, 24. And so now you're taking small children, even college age kids, and putting them in front of an avatar who cannot interact with you in the same way that a human can. And if you've ever seen videos of babies who are trying to give an emotional facial response to an adult and they're not getting that same response back from an adult, within about 30 to 45 seconds, those babies go into complete distress.
Wow.
It's really horrifying to watch what happens to those babies. And so you have to think that if that's happening to an infant who has no capacity to formulate a thought and verbalize what they're experiencing, how is that impacting even young kids or even college age students, again, who do not have that fully functioning brain? So that was my first thought. The other piece to that is that we generate oxytocin, one of those really important neurochemicals that are part of what I call the daily dose. So that's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Those are the things that give us a sense of complete well-being as humans. And so we need those really important chemicals to keep us stimulated, to keep our mind active, and to keep us feeling good about ourselves and whole as humans. So if we're limiting those interactions between kids or even young adults, and we're limiting that interaction to an avatar, how are they getting the oxytocin that they need that we get through physical contact, physical human contact, and eye contact even? So what are we doing to the brain chemicals that we need to make us whole and make us human? So those were my kind of first initial thoughts as I heard and experienced that.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that, because that's getting on a much deeper level. We kind of touched on that very high level in that episode about, compassion and just empathy and those things. And then,
Empathy.
you're getting down to the cellular level and the neurotransmitter level. And it's a great point. And then, a lot of what's going on with ADHD in kids and things like that is with screen time or whatnot. They're, they're getting this dopamine rush. So, hey, you're getting your daily dopamine, but it's so much, it's almost like overload. And then the brain has to kind of rebound from it. So it's really like, you want to kind of maintain this homeostasis. And so you're getting into a whole nother side of the conversation that needs to take place as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point that you bring up, though, too, Luke, is that with the screen time, because that does give a dopamine response, but it's a constant one after the other. And yeah, what is the impact of that overall? And if once we kind of come down from that overstimulated dopamine response, what's next? Right? Where do you go from there in order to get that constant stimulation that you need if it's coming just from screen time rather than from the human interaction?
Yeah, I think we saw a lot of that during COVID, unfortunately. We saw increased screen time, decrease in human-to-human interaction, and that's kind of this is going to replicate that without the crisis, right? So it's concerning.
It is concerning.
Very good dialogue, and my one add on is I think good old Hollywood movies, TV shows, they glamorize interactions like with robots and technology and AI and these avatars and there's movies that are themed on these things and they're success they play it out that they're successful at building relationships and building rapport and building communication skills, and I just don't think it's accurate. I don't think it displays an accurate outcome based upon what we're talking about. And
I think
we have to keep tabs on that.
Yeah, I think I think at the core of it, it's really important to remember what Dr. Lord said, is that these brains aren't developed. I think even with adults, there's issues with these things. And Matt, to your point, the reason Hollywood does these things is because they sell. They're what people's brains are drawn to because of that dopamine hit. It's like, oh wow. And it's no different than illicit drugs. That's what they're getting from cocaine or heroin or something like that. And so here, that's essentially what they're doing. And getting back to the root of what Dr. Lord said is, what is the long-term effect of this, of everybody's brains just being thrown off chemically from AI and from screens and all these things? And I don't think it's going to be positive. I don't think we've ever seen a positive response from that.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. We are getting into such uncharted territory here. And it reminds me of a conversation I was having on Christmas Eve with a gathering that we were at. And an individual said, well, we just need to let it loose and study it. And I thought, oh boy, that's a bit like letting a tiger loose in your house and then coming up with a game plan after it's mauled you. It just seems really, when we're getting into something that we have no idea what it is and what its capacity to do is, and then to say, well, we'll study it after the fact, just seems very, very backwards to me.
Well, keep it in the cage while you study it, for sure.
Yeah, and that's a great tie-in to the next question we had for you, if I may. It's a fantastic response. And so what I was going to ask is, as an industry professional with a PhD and many years of experience in, education, healthcare as reference, what do you project are some unintended consequences of AIs taking a leading role in education, over our youth and or college students?
Yeah, I think the biggest question for me is, how do you measure knowledge, comprehension, retention, transfer, if we are solely allowing AI to generate what it is that we're thinking or leading us down a path, right? How do we even begin to measure? I saw some just recently where someone was saying, and I have no idea if it's true or not, because we don't know right now, right? There's so many fakes that are out there. But he said, yeah, I got my degree using entirely AI. To earn my degree. And I thought, okay, even if this is just a fake meme that's put out there, that's really frightening. So how then do we go into industry and say, well, I've got this credential, this degree that was based solely on being fed information and not using my own critical thinking skills? So that kind of overall measurement, transfer, comprehension. I think the other concern that I have then is, at what point do we just become house pets, right? If we haven't learned and we can't go in and demonstrate any expertise, what value are we bringing?
Yeah.
And then when does AI step in and say, hey, we've got this, because we've dumbed down humanity so far that it's a natural, easy progression to just allow AI to come in. And then we all stand to lose our jobs at that point. So I think the other thing, as I was thinking about it related to education overall, is just around plagiarism. And how do you even have original thoughts? So interesting quote that I jotted down as I was thinking about being with you gentlemen here. And I wish I remembered the overall podcast that I was listening to. But this interviewee said that he was using open source AI to generate a new idea. And the AI responded back with, and this is a quote, "that violates the laws of thermodynamics." And so my reaction to that was, okay, are we allowing AI now to tell us what the limitations of our own knowledge are, and our own creativity and our own innovation, if the response back is that violates the laws of thermodynamics? The other piece to that is, I think about knowledge, and being a researcher in academia, we draw on, just like AI is doing, right? We look at all the metadata that's out there. Some theories were generated hundreds of years ago, but the theory wasn't proven until the technology could catch up to us. So how then, if we're allowing AI to kind of control our own thought bubbles, if you will, aren't we limiting our own ability to think and create and innovate?
That's great responses, great answers, great insights from your perspective there. And the thought that first came to mind when you started your response was, it made me think that, back in the day, and most of us, have experience with it, is, we earned our degrees, physically, probably at a campus, and then, and not all of them, and some of them may have been online later on. But I personally remember when online degrees started coming out, because you made a reference of what's it going to be for AI. There was a question: are they legitimate? That question did exist 20 years ago. It doesn't now, but it did 20 years ago. And so, could that similar pattern or that similar thought process be going on here? Time will tell, as you mentioned. We don't know the outcomes fully yet.
Yeah, I think you brought up some really important points, and just the fact of critical thinking essentially beginning to get eroded until it's erased. Like, each generation that comes and this ramps up, then nobody's going to be able to critically think, which is at the core of who we are as humans, right? And to your point, the next step of that is, then what value do we add? We don't. There's no value if you can't bring something that somebody else can't to the table. And AI, in a way, is kind of, I don't want to use the term socializing, but just kind of leveling. Everybody can be an artist. Everybody can be a principal. It's because it's all computerized. And so you don't have your unique skill set that you were born with, or whatever because it's in the computer. Right. And then, and then going on to, like what you were saying about innovation, AI, maybe it'll innovate on its own, but certainly people can't, because if we're already limited in terms of what's possible, because AI is telling us it's not possible, how much worse is that going to get when we can't critically think? We're definitely going to not be able to challenge it, because nobody's going to know how to think on their own. So there's a lot of long-term things to think about.
We're seeing that now, just with social media and
it's crazy already.
Absolutely.
It's already visible.
Definitely a herd mentality.
And at what point does the AI learn based on the limited knowledge that's out there now, with some of the some of the social media, some of the podcasters being shut down, right? And that in and of itself is limiting what AI can learn. So then it further erodes what it is that it's telling us that we can do. So it just feels like it's constricting our own ability to be human. So
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
going to create one kind of mind, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is the only truth, and it's
That's,
whatever
yeah,
it
this is
either
the
is
only
fed.
truth. Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, it's whatever it's
yeah.
fed, or whatever it learns on its own is its own
Yeah.
truth, and then people won't be able to critically think. So, I don't
I
know, Matt.
think
That's
they,
somewhat. Oh, go ahead,
yeah,
Doctor
I
Lord.
think, isn't that what they call the singularity?
Yes, that's
That point of singularity when we get, yeah,
that
kind of
may
that one track mind.
maybe
Yeah.
what maybe what they're working towards. Who we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, yeah. They want everyone to think alike and not think for themselves. That's what I feel like sometimes.
Mm-hmm,
Hmm.
What's going
mm-hmm.
on out there and what we're seeing that. So, we had a third question, but I really feel that that you've done a great job yourself, Danielle, and us dialoguing with you as well. That it's been answered because it was focused on do real people, educators outweigh what AI brings to the table, and I think we've addressed that. I feel we have. We've made
Yeah.
multiple
I
comments
guess
along those
if I
lines.
may modify the question a bit, because I would
Good.
actually like Dr. Lord's thoughts on this, is that,
Okay.
do you see, we've just discussed just a scratch in the surface on some of the major pitfalls that can occur if we go down this path. Do you see any value to AI working in complement to humans in the educational field, Dr. Lord?
I think there is, but I think it comes with a huge amount of discipline. And that would be to use it as a, I hate to say this now that it's popped into my head, but kind of using it to fact check.
Hmm.
Now, again, then
Hmm.
that brings up a whole nother kind of conversation, right? But if you use it to, maybe it's better said, using it to validate. Right? Did I cover all of my bases when I went out and did my literature review, for example, when I looked to see what was in the body of knowledge that I wanted to ensure that I had discussed or covered? I'm using it as that validation point. But again, that comes with a huge amount of discipline is required to do that, because it's very easy to fall into that trap of complacency of, well, gee, I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'll just inch in a little further into it. Yeah. Well, so.
Yeah. Well, it's on, you could almost use it as an advanced Google search, and just, making sure that you're using sources that when it kicks out certain things, that you can check the sources and verify that. But to your point, you have to be really disciplined and want to know the truth versus just wanting to complete an assignment, so
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
that's a
Exactly.
challenge for sure.
Yeah.
It does make it way too easy in my mind. And then the question is are students or people, are we really learning? Are we in that mode of continuous improvement? I mean, that's what life's
Mm-hmm.
all about. And is that occurring? That's ultimately to me
Mm-hmm.
the question.
Yeah. Is it
So
occurring now? Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 So, well, good. This has been a phenomenal dialogue. Daniel, we are extremely grateful for your time today and your insights and your expertise. This has been awesome today. I do just want to give you a moment. Would you like to, you mentioned, your leadership and consulting background and your professional history. Is there any type of information you'd like to convey to our subscribers and viewers? Please take a moment and share that about yourself if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I do have my own consulting practice. It is Archetype Learning Solutions. And there's a lot of thought that went into that name. But it is primarily because as humans in organizations that are living systems, we all need to be learning together. And your business is a unique, it's a unique entity. So Archetype Learning Solutions, and you can email me directly at Danielle@archetypelearningsolutions.com. That's Danielle@archetypelearningsolutions.com. I'd love to talk about all things leadership and how great leadership and engagement can help your organization function better.
All right.
Awesome.
Hey, no, that's fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. And if you'd like me to, I can put that information in the details of the podcast when I post it, so
It'd be
that
great.
it's
Thank you.
accessible.
Yeah, let's
All
definitely
right,
do that.
great.
So anybody watching, you all check it below. So.
All right.
Thank
Well, hey,
you. Appreciate it.
we're gonna bring this round in for our landing, and people, we have so much to talk about as we've discussed today. The media will not and cannot cover it all, so we need you, people, not AI, all peoples, to stand with us, no matter where you're from, whether you're from the U.S. or international, to contribute and promote what we're talking about. So we want to hear your stories about how people, businesses, or governments alike are utilizing artificial intelligence in a positive way for a benefit to society or an adversarial way, so we can hold them accountable.
Yeah, that's right. I think we could have gone on for hours, honestly. We try to keep these podcasts really short, but Again, I think Dr. Lord, you did a great job on just scratching the surface. So, people, if you have more comments you'd want to add below, or things that you're thinking of that maybe triggered a thought when listening to Dr. Lord talk, please add it in the comments below. Visit us on our YouTube channel, People's Champions International. And of course, we've got more engaging content coming weekly, and are looking forward to hosting more guests.
All right. So until round 14, we do thank you for viewing and subscribing. And remember, AI may be intelligent, but people are wise. So be well.
Be well, everybody.